Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Elena Lupsha, and I am techUK's Program Manager for Local Public Services and Nations and Regions, where we work with local authorities, devolved government, and local and national policymakers to advocate for the tech sector in strengthening economic growth and resilience across the nations and regions. At the end of last year, we published the second edition of our Local Digital Capital Index, which is a guide that describes the impact and value technology can bring to a region, showcasing its strengths and providing direction for development as well. Ahead of the next iteration of the index, we will be taking a closer look at different areas of the UK and the work being done to grow and strengthen the local tech ecosystems. During today's session, we will discuss how we can encourage the next generation to develop digital skills and how we can best support them when choosing a career path into tech. We are delighted to be joined today by Emily, Director of Next Tech Girls, Namwa, Graduate Software Engineer at Tesco, Lorelei, Account Director at Makers, and Nimi, Head of Skills, Talent and Diversity at techUK. And I will now hand over to Nimi.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting to be talking about the next generation because that's a core theme for this month's techUK campaign that's focusing on women in tech. But that also includes the ways in which we can support girls and women not only enter the sector, but also progress in the tech sector. This coincides with International Women's Day on the 8th of March. Really glad to be joined by a fantastic panel of people. Emily, can I come to you first? What's Next Tech Girls and why are you running such a program?
Great questions. So Next Tech Girls is a social enterprise that was set up back in 2016 by a tech recruitment agency called Empiric. The reason they set it up was that they were very aware that there was not only a skills gap, but also a gender gap in the tech industry. And they didn't want to be yet another company talking about the problem. They wanted to really take action and try to solve it. So by doing some research, they understood that the problem starts actually at quite a young age. Boys and girls tend to have similar interest in tech, and then in their kind of early teens it starts to rapidly drop off for girls. They also were thinking about how they could best utilize their skills and experience as recruiters and their networks of companies within the tech industry. And so back in 2016, when they first set up Next Tech Girls, they started by organizing work experience placements for teenage girls. Most schools around the country have a week or sometimes 2-week period where normally sort of 14 to 16-year-olds are encouraged to go out and do some work experience. And it's a really underutilized opportunity for those students to get real insight into the working world, and in particular the tech world. So they put a few hundred girls through placements over the following few years to great success. We have 95% of students who've done our work experience placements said that they had been encouraged and motivated to pursue future careers in tech, which is amazing. I joined to run the organisation last year to pick back up the work experience after lockdown and also to launch online events with the aim being to reach much bigger audiences, and in particular to be more inclusive in terms of being able to reach students in areas of the country who might not be able to get involved in our work experience for various reasons, social mobility, cold spots, rural areas, places who don't have as much access to this kind of support.
Lorelei, why are you interested in this topic and what does Makers do?
Fantastic question. If I start with Makers, because we're an awesome organization and can talk for hours about it, but I'll try and keep it nippy and then I can talk about why I'm so passionate. I think it'll come across. Makers is a market-leading tech talent and training provider. We were actually Europe's first coding bootcamp back in 2013. And since then, we've trained over 3,000 people to become software engineers. And we're actually the UK's largest apprenticeship provider for software engineering and DevOps now, which is crazy because back in kind of 10 years ago, we thought of ourselves as this radical disruptor, and we've grown a lot over the years. But in a nutshell, we help high potential career switchers to retrain as software engineers via our coding bootcamp. And then we help them to launch their careers in companies that are at the kind of the total forefront of the industry, which is really, really cool. And it's such a fun thing to be a part of. I think this really sums up why I'm so passionate about this topic today, but also everybody at Makers shares this same passion. And that's that we have this kind of relentless focus on diversity at Makers. 40% of the people who train in our bootcamp identify as women, and 40% are from ethnic minority backgrounds. we all share this same vision, and that is that the face of tech should reflect the society it serves, and that everyone should have the chance to have a job that they love, because we spend so much of our life working. We all know that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity isn't. Unfortunately, there are so many ways that the education system unfairly acts as a barrier. And as a result of that, we've got this huge wealth of talent out there that's being missed out on. So at Makers, our approach is different, and we believe it's better. We don't pay attention to grades and qualifications. Instead, we look to aptitude and ambition as a means of assessing potential. And we also offer a number of discounts and scholarships to ensure our training is as inclusive as possible. But we also partner with loads of brilliant organizations like Emily and Next Tech Girls, because we know that there's so much that we can still be doing here. So huge fan of the organization. That's my
fantastic. It's really great to hear that you're focusing in on social mobility as well as wider forms of D&I. Namwa, you went through the Next Tech Girls program. Is that correct?
Yep, I did 3 placements with Next Tech Girls. I did one in 2017, and then I did 2 more in 2018.
What was your experience like?
So I'd say that across the 3 placements in general, there was the recurring theme of understanding what it's like to work in the tech industry. The first placement back in summer 2017 was run by Tata Consultancy Services and was held at London South Bank University. And during this placement, we had a week-long placement where we were learning about new computer science concepts such as big data and cloud computing. It gave me the opportunity to take part in team presentations. I could improve on my communication skills, team working skills. And we also had talks from people that were currently working in the tech industry. So I found it really inspiring. And then I did 2 more placements in 2018. And the reason for this was because I found out that there were 2 placements run by Vodafone. And because I didn't have time to do it in 2017, I applied through Next Tech Girls again the year later to make sure that I didn't miss out on this opportunity. The first one being a chance to shadow people who work within the Vodafone head office. So both on the legal pathway as well as cybersecurity. And the second placement was #CodeLikeAGirl. So I was in a week-long placement with loads of other girls who were interested in computer science, specifically programming. And that really motivated me because it felt like I wasn't alone. So it was nice to do some pair programming with them and have the chance to work alongside them to come up with a new project.
Where did you find out about the program? How did you hear about it?
So it's a bit of a weird one, word of mouth, but through my sister. My sister found out through her colleagues that there was this social enterprise, Next Tech Girls, that provides work experience. So back when I was in school, I was struggling to find work experience related to computer science because it's not easy to find if you don't know where to look. So I was really grateful that I found out about Next Tech Girls. And then once I signed up, it was very easy to keep track of what was going on so I could pick and choose what I wanted to sign up for.
And have you shared more about the program with your network now?
Yeah, so I told other people about it, and I found that sharing my experience really encouraged other people to get into it. I've noticed that now, even so, like without taking computer science at school or university, that anyone can get into the tech industry. So there's actually a couple of my classmates that didn't study computer science at the same time as me, have now moved on to the sort of tech industry and computer science, because anyone can get into the tech industry now.
That's amazing. I'm so jealous, and I wish I'd known about the opportunity when I was studying a very long time ago. Emily, how can we ensure that people are more aware of these opportunities? What can we do to make young people more aware?
So one of the main ways that we're trying to make people more aware of our programme is through school outreach. So obviously some people will have heard about us from word of mouth. A lot of people hear about us through social media. We've had a real push over the last few months to post more kind of engaging content across several different platforms. But the main way that we engage young people now is actually directly through schools. So that's one of the reasons that we launched online events, is that not only does it enable us to reach bigger groups of students across, wider areas of the UK, but it also acts as a kind of an advert, I guess, for our work. So we tend to do our online events with younger students who are in year 9, who are just thinking about what they want to study for GCSE. And then in theory, lots of them will the following year or the year after have that opportunity to do work experience. So by hearing about us at a younger age, it gets them to start thinking about that opportunity. And our hope is that they'll come back to us and ask to do work experience. And then we'll get to give them that real hands-on experience and insight into what it's really like working in the tech industry. Our hashtag and slogan is smash the stereotype. There's lots of elements to that. One of those is, the stereotype of that tech is just for boys, which we all know it's not and definitely shouldn't be. But the other one is kind of the stereotypes around what working in the tech industry is actually like. I think film and TV hasn't done it too many favors, and people assume that it's like, the lone guy sat in his basement coding on his own, when actually in reality, working in tech is a very collaborative industry. And so it's great to give girls that insight firsthand and really see what it's actually like. And hopefully they will have a positive experience, and then that encourages them to pursue careers in the industry later in life.
Thank you. And Lorelei, what has prevented the women you see at Makers from starting careers in tech sooner?
Well, I think to touch on what everybody's already said, I think, first of all, there's so many factors that contribute to this kind of end result of there being less women in tech. But I think we all know that it begins at school. So as Emily said earlier, we know that there's this kind of drop off during teenage years where girls start to switch off from STEM subjects. And it's around that same time that they look up to role models for what they want to do next in their career. And they kind of look up and they look around them and they don't see any women there. And so they make this decision that an industry in tech isn't for them. So I think positive role models and inspiration and kind of mentorship around you is such an important thing. And that goes kind of throughout school years and then into the world of work, where there's still this kind of gender imbalance in the industry. I think the work that Next Tech Girls is doing is amazing because of the fact that it's kind of this huge education and awareness of the opportunities that are out there. Not only that, again, as Emily said, tech is not just for boys, but also this idea that a career in tech is really, really technical. There's such like a breadth of opportunity and creativity within the tech industry, and it can be such a force for good. There's so many brilliant opportunities for women. And I think by shining a light on that, hopefully we can start to make a bit of a change.
Yeah, absolutely. Role models are very important, and they're one of our kind of main ways of smashing the stereotype. So we share stories of current women in tech across social media, across all our events, and in our placements, our mentors are always women. And I think it's really important, as Lorelei was saying, for girls to see that breadth of opportunity within tech as well. The fact that lots of our messaging is around the fact that if you've tried coding and you hate it, you can still work in tech. Try it first, because I think that's really important, because, there might be some misconceptions that girls have about coding if they've never actually given it a go, or they might have tried one language and hated it, but actually if they tried another, they might love it. So I think it's definitely worth them trying. But if they don't like it, there's so many other roles that they can do. And we really try to showcase that through all of our work. Another important thing for us is that our role models are from diverse backgrounds. That it's really important for us that any girl looking at our social media or attending one of our events or going on a work experience placement, hopefully we'll see someone in there who looks a bit like them, has a similar background to them, and then we'll be encouraged to, believe that, well, if that person can do it, so can I, which I think is so powerful.
Thank you. Now that you're in employment, when you reflect, what was the most interesting or useful part of your program?
I'd say that one of the most useful things would be from the Vodafone placement. When I had to do my application, I had to send a video application as well as do a gamified assessment. And that's something I'd never done before. However, it's quite common today, especially in the tech industry, to go through this application process. So I think having the opportunity to go through that and have the experience definitely did help me later on down the line when I was applying for graduate roles. Another thing is pair programming. And I'd say that this one's important because in the tech industry, you're always in a team. It's important to collaborate and learn from each other. So when I was studying in school, specifically GCSE, when I had quite a few peers around me, not so much in A-level, we never had the opportunity to work with one another. There was no concept of pairing up to code together and bounce ideas off of each other. And I feel like that would have been something that would be really useful in terms of preparing someone for the tech industry. Things may have changed since I've studied, but I'd say that having that opportunity during the placements that I did definitely provided me with like more of an insight as to how people collaborate together, specifically down the software engineering route, seeing as that's now what I do today. I'm a graduate software engineer at Tesco, and it is very common that we pair program and we work together as a team to solve problems.
It's really great to hear that the program that you are on really focused on real world skills to help you support you in employment. Lorelei, how important is that to the apprenticeships that Makers offers, that kind of collaboration?
Oh, it's so important. And hearing about your experience at Tesco makes me so jealous. It sounds brilliant. It's really important. And at Makers, we think quite a unique approach to how we help our apprentices to kind of prepare for the world of work, because we know that, you aren't just a heads down coder, you are working in a team and you are collaborating and you're constantly thinking together about how to solve problems. We run a technical curriculum, and that gives all of our learners the opportunity to learn all of the kind of the core fundamentals and the technical skills they'll need. But we also give them all of the kind of the in-demand soft skills that they'll need to be really resilient, good communicators, able to advocate for themselves in the workplace, able to be adaptable, able to problem solve in situations. And because actually when you look at somebody's career in tech, actually that point of coding and programming is such a small part of it. So much of it is problem solving and having discussions. So for us, it's really important that our apprentices go through that full curriculum. Dana is our Chief Joy Officer, and she's exceptional, and she gives all of our learners the opportunity to practice mindfulness and to prepare themselves so that when they land in the world of work, they're confident and they go on to be really successful.
Emily, what are the ambitions for Next Tech Girls?
Well, we have some big ambitions, which are really exciting. So I mentioned that we'd put a few hundred girls through work experience placements up to sort of 2020. When I joined last year and launched online events, and I've now relaunched the work experience placements, we're now up to about 850 girls who we've directly engaged with. But our plan for 2023 is to increase that number to 10,000, which sounds really crazy, but I'm confident that we're going to do it. The online events will help us massively. So we've got our first one planned for the 10th of March, so the week of International Women's Day, which is also National Careers Week, which is ideal. And we've got about 20 schools around the UK signed up to join that so far, with a total of around 1,000 students, 900 of which are girls, which is really exciting for our first event of the year. Our hope is to do kind of 5 to 10 events throughout the year. And we're constantly doing school outreach to get more schools involved. So I'm hopeful that number will grow exponentially, and with each event we'll get more people joining. We're aware that this is a bit of a numbers game. I read a stat recently that said that there's effectively a couple of million women missing from the tech industry, and we know that we've got a growing skills gap. The tech industry, despite some recent quite high profile layoffs, actually the industry as a whole is still growing, and there are increasing vacancies every year. So this is something that we really need to prioritize, because otherwise that gender gap is going to grow too. So we know that if we want to build up a real pipeline of future women in tech, we need to be reaching large numbers of girls now to be encouraging them to follow those paths in the near future. But we have great feedback from the students that have done, from the women who've done placements with us in the past. Namwa being one of our greatest success stories, and now a real kind of advocate and unofficial ambassador for Next Tech Girls, which is amazing. Obviously, she's come on this panel with us. She also came to a school careers fair with me recently. I'm just getting her involved in as much as I can, because she's like an amazing, like, real life
success story.
Yeah, success, and like an advert for what we're doing, I guess, and for like she can show you like the real life impact of what we're doing, which is amazing.
Yeah, Namwa, you're a total role model, and you have been for a while.
Thank you.
Have you kept in touch with the people from your programs?
I actually haven't. It's been quite a few years. I haven't, but I think because I had the experience to do these placements, I want to I'm really passionate about inspiring the next generation. I do want more girls in tech. Seeing how, like Lorelei said, during school, you see the way people start dropping computer science because it's not interesting. Or even one of my friends said that she didn't feel like computer science was for girls. Now she's changed her degree to study computer science, and she realized how much that like she does enjoy it. So I do really want to inspire the next generation. So I do actually volunteer at a code club. Those are the free clubs that are all around the UK, run by the Raspberry Pi organization. So I occasionally volunteer at a primary school in Hertfordshire, and I'm really passionate about trying to encourage those girls and like sort of just prove to them that it doesn't matter if they're a girl, like it doesn't matter who you are. We do need all sorts of mindsets when it comes to coming up with new solutions, because if we're going to develop and create new solutions and new products for such a diverse society, then we need the diverse minds behind it.
Definitely. And it's all about sparking that interest, right? If you can grab onto them when they're young, hopefully that spark will continue. And hopefully they make fantastic memories at this code club as well. Lorelei, Makers has a community where those who go through the program then become alumni. How has that alumni network helped the people that have gone through the programs?
Oh, it's amazing. It's this really awesome community, actually. It's 3,000 strong all across the country. And there's so many success stories of people from cohorts in 2014 that are now CTOs of really brilliant, exciting businesses. And we have actually a Slack channel of the alumni, which I'm lucky to be on because I'm not actually an alumni. So I feel like I've cheated my way in. But seeing the sorts of conversations, everybody still does feel like a family. And everyone, it's super interesting hearing makers talk to each other, because they'll say, oh, they remember like the date of their cohort and they'll kind of list it to each other. It's like a way to kind of reference their history as part of this kind of this experience. But everybody really mucks in to help each other out. So it could be that somebody has a technical issue that they want help with, or it could be that they're relocating to a different part of the country and they want to know if there's good places to eat in Bristol, for example, or it could be that they're thinking about their next opportunity, or they're looking to hire somebody in a particular skill set as an experienced dev. So they kind of reach out to each other, and it is like this total network that spans the whole country. And then as well as that, Makers actually as an organization partners with grassroots coding communities so that we can kind of leverage the superpower of all of our networks to reach kind of the talent that really just gets missed, unfortunately, by all of these traditional systems in place. I would say it's one shameless plug about Makers to this idea that women and young people need to be educated when they're young about the opportunities in tech. That's super true. But the brilliant thing about Makers is, you know, if you did miss that opportunity and you ended up going and working in retail or hospitality, or you're a doctor, or you were working as a journalist, like that's not kind of the end of the road for you. You didn't miss the opportunity to go into tech. Like you can retrain at any age. And we have people coming through the Makers doors that 25, 40, 50, you know, it's really, as everybody on the panel has said, and I think that we're all like super passionate about it, is you really can be anybody from any walk of life, and tech is for everyone. And that's really what we truly believe at Makers, which is why we help career switchers to come and have a shot at tech.
I think it's really important that we're tackling this from both sides, actually. So obviously Next Tech Girls is looking at that future pipeline, that next generation of diverse women in tech. And then Makers are looking at, you know, as Lorelei said, there's people who it's too late for them to get that from us, but they can work with Makers to move into tech now. So it's kind of like short term, let's get these brilliant women from other industries into tech. And then longer term, let's start getting young girls interested, so that hopefully in the not so distant future, we won't
solve
need
the problem
to switch. Exactly. That's the long-term goal, is to not need to have organizations like Next Tech Girls. Ultimately, that is the goal for us. I mean, sadly, I don't know if that will ever be the case. I feel like with anything related to diversity and equity and inclusion, it's a long-term thing, and you kind of need to keep pushing at it. But in an ideal world, we would get to a point where tech just is for everyone, and we can see that in every company at every level, in particular in leadership, you know. Absolutely. And we don't need things dedicated to women in tech and girls in tech, because that it's just normal.
Yeah, the aim is to make our organizations redundant essentially.
Yeah, that is the ultimate aim. Yeah, exactly.
No, but Lorelei, the work that you do is fantastic because it opens up points in a person's career where they can feel like they have the ability to retrain. That's something that we're seeing, across the UK is like low levels of the culture of lifelong learning. And so programs like that really install that people can do this and that there are access points available to them at any stage of life.
Absolutely.
I think what's great with Makers as well is that because they do boot camps and apprenticeships, they're kind of two alternative routes into tech if, for whatever reason you don't want to do a related degree, or you did a degree in something different and then you want to move into tech. I think one of the things that I've discovered recently with speaking to lots of young people through our events and placements is there's still a real focus at school on university. That's still kind of considered the default, but it's not necessarily the best option for everyone. Degree apprenticeships in particular, I'm really impressed by how many opportunities there are. I don't know if they did exist when I was at school. Maybe they
I
did.
always think this. I always think if I had my chance again, would I have done something differently? Because, and I think that's kind of our call to action for businesses really, is to really make use of apprenticeships because they are such a brilliant alternative route for somebody that doesn't want to go to uni or potentially can't afford to go to uni or doesn't have the qualifications and A-level results that they need. It's a great way, isn't it, for people to
or maybe
learn
they
on the
already
job,
went to university. Maybe they already went to university, studied something different, and then they think, actually, I'd really like to work in tech, and I really don't want to have to do another degree. It just fills in the gaps, I think, for so many people. And so one of the things we've been focusing on recently at Next Tech Girls is trying to make the girls we work with more aware of these different options. So it's not just about the different roles that they could do within tech, it's also the different routes in, so that hopefully everyone finds a role and a route that is appealing to them and that suits them.
Exactly. And that these routes are no longer called alternative, that we just call them routes so that more people are aware of them. I think that's really crucial.
Yeah, so I had been interested in computer science from an early age, but it was, I don't know, I was never too sure, which is why I took it for GCSE. And then that was the point when I started looking for work experience. I then did the placement with Tata Consultancy Services, liked the content and I liked the discussions and the projects that we were working on. So then I took it for A-level. However, it did mean that I was the only one studying it. Did feel extremely overwhelming at first, but I don't know. I think because I was so interested in it, I thought, seeing as I have the opportunity to take at A-level, not many schools will give you that option. If you're the only person studying it, a lot of the time they won't run the subject. But then while I was studying it in year 12, this girl came to me and she was in the year above, in year 13. And she came to me saying that she was so surprised that I was taking it on my own because she wanted to take it at A-level, but because no one else wanted to study it, she decided to pick some other options. And she found it quite inspiring that I decided to study it on my own, even though no one else was going to study it with me. So it's a shame that these sort of things happen, that I guess it kind of proves that people really do need to have that sort of like visibility. We need the evidence that other people want to study computer science. So I think it is good to have those role models, because then otherwise you get scenarios where people aren't even taking the opportunities because they're too scared to do it. And then I'd say after that, I then moved to study it as a degree. I did the Bachelor of Science Computer Science degree at the University of Birmingham. And again, it was the sort of thing where even though I knew that I was definitely going to stand out, and I definitely did, there were only 3 other Black girls in the whole cohort.
How big was the cohort?
I think 280.
Gosh.
Yeah, the fact that I could count it it's disappointing, but I wanted to do it anyway. I feel like no matter what, I wanted to pursue this career, and I'm glad that I did, because this is I enjoy it. This is what I wanted to do. So that's why I feel like it's so important that we show the younger generation, that we show these girls that it doesn't matter. You can do it anyway. So, yeah.
I think a big part of that and a big part of what we offer at Next Tech Girls actually is about giving girls confidence, because that does take confidence. It takes bravery. At the moment, sadly, a lot of girls, and Black girls in particular, are going to have to be those sort of pioneers. You're going to have to go into situations where maybe you're the only person or one of very few people who look like you, which is really hard. And I hope that in the near future that won't be the case, and you'll just feel like you fit in, and there'll be so many other people who look just like you and have similar stories to you. But one of the things I've really noticed on placements recently, I try to, where possible, go and visit the girls during the week, and I'll catch up with their host as well. And a lot of the feedback that I get, and that I've actually seen firsthand, is the girls who arrive on the Monday and the girls who leave on the Friday are very different girls. They turn up so quiet, timid, overwhelmed. I ask them, like, what surprised you about working here? And it's always similar things around, like, everyone's really friendly, everyone talks to each other, I can take breaks whenever I want. Like, the environment is so different from school, and they find that, like, both exciting and a bit scary.
But terrifying.
Yeah, but by the Friday, they're so confident, they're so chatty, they're opinionated in the best possible way. They've really come out of their shells. They're sharing ideas about how these companies can improve their ways of working, can improve their product. We've had girls suggest new features that have actually been implemented on companies' websites and apps.
That is so cool. That is so cool.
Amazing. It's really amazing. Like, the benefits to companies are massive as well, because they're getting insights from the very hard to reach demographic, who actually have, like, really interesting opinions and innovative ideas. And so we often find that the hosts come out of it just as inspired as the girls. But that change in confidence for me is massive. And I can totally see how, I wish that girl in the year above you, Namwa, could have heard about Next Tech Girls and come and done a placement, because maybe that would have given her the confidence she needed to pursue computer science. Because that confidence, I think, just does make such a big difference.
It's true. Once you see it, then it really does make a difference. That's why when I did my second placement with Vodafone and saw all those other girls in the room that were interested in computer science and programming, I knew that it didn't really matter what my future was going to be. Like, even if I do stand out, I know that they do exist. So I thought, yeah, I need to keep going with this. Yeah, finding that community, I think, is really important. Even if it's a small community for now, the fact that there is a community and that you can plug into it, because there'll be other girls who are the only one at their school. Maybe not the only student like you were, that's quite extreme, but like the only girl potentially studying computer science. So we'll try to, where possible, if we have a group of girls in a placement, we'll try to get them from at least a couple of different schools, so that then they're starting to meet girls from other schools who are also studying computer science and have similar interests. And then that just starts to grow their network. And then if they are the only girl who wants to continue it for A-level, it's not so scary, because they've got a friend maybe on WhatsApp or Snapchat or wherever the kids are talking nowadays. Who's also got those interests and is studying it, and that makes it a bit less scary. I wish I had that.
Maybe you're going to be the role model for the next generation.
That's true. That is the goal. That's the goal.
Exactly. That's so exciting.
You're already doing it. You're smashing the stereotypes, and I love it.
Thank you so much for joining. And with that thought, we would like to conclude today's discussion. It was great to learn so much more about how we can provide more opportunities and alternative pathways for careers into tech for the next generation. And please do get in touch with us if you'd like to join us to discuss any challenges and opportunities in your area and how we can support your local tech ecosystem. Thank you for listening.